Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Druk's Unboxing. Sunday afternoon in Sydney, Australia, down under, we are going to finally find out whether the son of a legend, Tszyu, is real world championship material or not. And the guy who's going to provide that answer for us is not only Tszyu, but also the former champion, Tony Superbad Harrison. It's an exciting style matchup. It's a matchup that will answer a lot of questions. If the fight excites you like it excites me, stay tuned and we'll break it down.
With the trunk colors of black and silver. His weight, 54.75 kilograms, with a professional record that wins 13 wins.
Australian fight fans have been having a good time of it lately. They've got the ring and IBF Cruiserweight Champion of the World, Yai Opatahia. They also had George Kambosos, who captured the World Lightweight Championship, albeit for a short time. And now the question is, can Tszyu go some way towards emulating them? It's only for the WBO interim world title, but it is a belt nonetheless. And in that position, he will become the mandatory for the WBO and undisputed champion, the man with all the belts, Jermell Charlo. Now, Tszyu was scheduled to challenge Jermell Charlo, and then Charlo got injured and the fight fell through. So he got a good consolation prize. He will instead face Tony Superbad Harrison, and that's for the WBO interim strap, as I've mentioned. But I think the fortune gods have been good to Tszyu. Taking on Jermell Charlo would have been a really big step up and a big risk. Taking on Tony Harrison is still a big step up, but I think it's slightly less risky, and it's a good fight to have before going on to challenge the likes of Jermell Charlo. Now, Tszyu has done everything that was expected of him, taking his record to 21-0 with 15 knockouts. And what I like about him is he cleaned up the domestic scene first in Australia. He stopped Jeff Horn. We all know Jeff Horn is an ex-WBO welterweight champion. He also stopped two-time world title challenger Dennis Hogan. So he cleaned up at home domestically, and he's also had a fight in the United States. That was his last fight against Terrell Gausha. I hope I pronounced the last name correctly. Gausha is a tough guy who can crack, who's been around the world level. He didn't win a world title, but he competed well at world level, so it was a good test for Tszyu. And also fighting abroad in the States is also a good experience. And it nearly went pear-shaped for him when he got dropped by a heavy right hand in the first round, but he gathered himself, and somewhat like his dad, he's flat-footed, but he keeps putting that steady pressure on you. He keeps coming and coming and coming at a steady pace until eventually he sort of punches himself out of trouble and overwhelms his opponent like he has done thus far in his career. Now, Tony Harrison is superbly confident. I can understand why Harrison is confident, because on film, Tszyu, stylistically at least, looks like an easy fighter. He isn't slick, he isn't particularly fast. He isn't a defensive technician, at least. He walks in after his opponents. He puts that pressure on. He's got a great left hook to the body, great right hand. He's got heavy hands. Everything he throws hurts his opponent. A little bit like his dad used to be, and a little bit like Gennady Golovkin. So that pressure tells on you in the end. But Tszyu, what I don't like about him, he's a bit easy to hit. And especially when he opens up, he tends to square on. He brings the back foot forward a little bit too much and is very square in front of you, which makes him easy to hit. And that's how Gausha nailed him with that right hand. And if we look at Tony Harrison, a very good fighter. He's got a record of 29 wins, 21 knockouts, so he can punch as well. He's got 3 losses and 1 draw. And he's got the better speed. He's got the better speed of foot as well, quicker hands and feet. And the thing about Harrison is he can fight going forward and he can fight going backward. He can fight well on the back foot if you put pressure on him that is not intelligent. He can fight on the back foot and he can pick you apart. And that is a big danger sign for Tszyu on Sunday afternoon. Now, will he be able to do it against Tszyu? He's fighting in Sydney. Of course, all the fans will be on the side of the Aussie, Tszyu. And to win a decision in Australia, that's not easy. Just like anywhere else in the world, really, except for Japan, where you can win a close fight. But so for Tony Harrison to win a decision, he according to my thinking, is going to have to do it in the way Devin Haney did it against George Kambosos. He's going to have to dominate. There can't be a lot of close rounds. So that's what Tony Harrison will need to do to win a decision there. I think he's actually more going for the knockout, and he's not going to have to look for Tszyu. So I would not be surprised if Tony Harrison shows Tszyu you're not quite that world level, top 5 level, top 10 level. Tszyu, I think, is already top 10, but you're not quite among the top 5 in the world. You're maybe not world championship caliber. It won't surprise me if he does that and he puts Tszyu down and he manages to keep him there, because what Tony Harrison can do, he's a very good combination puncher. He can rattle off 4 or 5 punches in a row from different angles. He's very good when he's throwing those combinations. But on the downside with Tony Harrison, all 3 his losses have been stoppages to Willie Nelson, his first title try against Jarrett Hurd, and then his second title try, he won the WBC world title when he upset Jamal Charlo on points, but he lost it back to Charlo in a rematch when he was competing on fairly even terms. He was still ahead on one of the cards, behind on 2 of the other cards, when Charlo suddenly hurt him, and I think it was a left hook that started the sequence and ended up stopping Tony Harrison in the 11th round, and there was his title. So Tony Harrison has got a lot of things going for him, but he hasn't got the greatest chin in the world, and along with that, his head, he keeps his head, he doesn't tuck his chin, his head is straight up like me talking to you now. And the thing with worries me about Tony Harrison, he throws those fantastic combinations, but then he stands there and he looks at his handiwork, and when he throws again, and that's a worrying thing with Tony Harrison. He stands in that pocket just a bit too long after throwing his punches for my liking, and that's where Tszyu, if he throws his punches and he doesn't put Tszyu down and keeps him down, that's where Tszyu can fight back and throw his own right hand and hurt Tony Harrison and stop him. So Tszyu can be dangerous in that aspect. You know, he's not a guy you want to stand in front of for too long, but he's easy to hit. So what do I think is going to happen? It's a real pick-em fight to me. I see a lot of people picking Tszyu to win within 5 rounds on knockout. I don't think it's going to be an easy fight for Tszyu at all. I think it's a big step up for him. It's a significant step up for him. And I think Tony Harrison is definitely going to have his moments, and he's going to have success against Tszyu. I think Tszyu will at least initially struggle with the speed of Tony Harrison. He'll struggle with the combination punches, because if Terrell Gausha could hurt him with that right hand, Tony Harrison is going to nail him as well. I don't think Tszyu was very much hurt when Gausha knocked him down, contrary to what the commentators were saying. They were at ringside, so what do I know? But he didn't really look that seriously hurt to me, but it was a heavy knockdown. So Tszyu is going to have to tighten up that defense, keep his hands up. He's going to have to try at least and move his head a little bit more than he usually does, and he'll have to be aware of it. But I think he's not going to be able to stay out of the way of Tony Harrison's punches. He's going to get hit. He's going to get nailed a couple of times. But I don't think I'm gambling on the fact that I think Tszyu has got the toughness of his dad. I don't think he's as good a fighter as his dad, who's a Hall of Famer, and I don't think he's as dynamic. There's many more layers to Kostya Tszyu's game than Tszyu, but I do think he has some of that ruggedness and some of that toughness of his dad, and he's got some of that heavy-handedness that the older Tszyu had is in Tszyu as well. So I think Tszyu is going to have to walk through deep water. He's perhaps going to be knocked down again. He might be in trouble a bit. He might have to come from being a few rounds behind. But I think eventually that left hook to the body, that right hand, he's going to start hitting Tony Harrison when Harrison stops punching, and it's going to tell. I think he's just more rugged, he's more tough. If I look at Tony Harrison since he lost his WBC title back to Jamal Charlo, he's gone 1 win and 1 draw. There was a draw against Brian Perella, who's more of a sort of a gatekeeper kind of fighter, and that is worrying with Tony Harrison. And in his last fight, he looked good against the Argentinian Sergio Garcia. But Garcia was also just walking in on Tony Harrison, very flat-footed, very rigid, and Harrison just picked him off a couple of rounds. And there's similarities between Garcia and Tszyu. Tszyu's going to have to be careful not to be too predictable. He's going to have to add layers to his game. Otherwise, he is in danger of being outboxed and outfought in the same way that Garcia was. But I think Tszyu is going to walk through fire. I think he's going to have to scramble a bit, but I think he's going to pass this test. albeit not easily. I think Tszyu's pressure, the steady pressure, will eventually tell Harrison, because if I look at his last few fights, I think they're different career trajectories. I won't say Tony Harrison is faded at all, but I don't think he's ever quite going to be as good as that night that he was when he beat Jamal Charlo in their first fight. So I think Tszyu, the home crowd, the hunger, just being a bit younger, even if he is the less experienced guy, even if he is going to be at a height and a reach disadvantage, and even if he hasn't fought the same quality of opponents, my feeling is just that Tszyu is going to hang in there long enough for Tony Harrison's pension to stand in the pocket for too long, together with his chin that's not made of iron, to become a factor and stop Tony Harrison somewhere around round 8 or round 9. I think he's going to nail Tony Harrison, he's going to keep the pressure on, and he's going to stop him. So I think Tszyu will win the WBO interim strap and get back in line for Jamal Charlo, but I think it's going to be a very, very good fight while it lasts. That's what I think, guys. If you've watched this far, please give the channel a thumbs up and please punch that subscribe button. And let me know in the comment sections, especially if there are guys from Australia watching. I've got some family over there and down under. They even stay in Sydney for that matter. Tell me what you think. How do you think this fight goes? Do you think Tszyu is going to prevail? Do you think Tony Harrison is going to take him to school? Tell me what you think. As I've said, I always appreciate the likes, the subscribes and the comment. And then until I see you guys again, remember to keep those hands up.